Namaste and good morning everyone. Let's start our class with the prayers. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now we'll chant Mahamrityunjaya mantra 3 times for those who are in suffering. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhana Mrityormukshiyamamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhana Mrityormukshiyamamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhana Mrityormukshiyamamrutat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Welcome everyone. We were doing our Gita class, verse till to 18. We finished last time and we saw that Lord here tells Arjuna Yudhyasva. That means you should fight. And we also explained last time that what it means. It's not that Lord is giving a command to Arjuna to fight, but Arjuna came there in the battlefield with the intention to fight, considering it as his duty. And because of the delusion and the sorrow arising from the situation, he wanted to quit his duty. So Lord is basically just telling that by now, by my teachings, you should be free from, you should know the reality, should be free from this delusion and sorrow, and therefore you should fight. So what are those teachings which apparently should have dispelled the delusion of Arjuna? Because when Lord is saying that now therefore you should fight, in one way if you look at, he has given certain teachings and he saying that so far whatever I have taught you, based upon that you should understand, and that understanding should remove your delusion, and therefore you should fight. So in a way the teaching comes to an end, that I have taught you this and now you should fight. So what is it that Lord has taught so far? So if you look at the from 2:11, where the teachings started, actual Gita teachings. So first, Lord is telling that Arjuna, you grieve over those who should not be grieved, and yet speak like the learned. But know that wise people, they do not sorrow over dead or living. So one thing is that just because Arjuna is making a lot of logical sounding arguments in chapter 1 and chapter 2, before the teachings started, Lord is saying it's not the talk which matters, But know this characteristic of wise people, that they do not sorrow over the dead or living, or in other words, for anybody or anything. So a wise person is free from sorrow. Then what is it that the wise person knows? And here he is saying that you are worried about that your near and dear ones will be killed and there would be no more. So he is saying that, look, there was never a time when I was not there, or when you were not there, or when these kings were not there, nor is it that hereafter we shall cease to be. So that concern should not be. Of course, with this statement alone, it's difficult because death is very real. Arjuna is kind of considering how do I understand this statement, because I see that people who were there earlier, they are not there, and they get killed and they will not be there. So how do I understand that there was never a time when I was not, or these kings were not, or you were not? So Lord further explains that aspect. So here he introduces two things. One is Dehi. Dehi is the one who has Deha, the body, one who has body or the self. And the Deha itself, the body itself. So he's saying that body alone is not the truth. You have to also see that there is something, some entity who has this body, and that he is just saying who has this body, the self. Dehina literally means one who has this body. So just as boyhood, youth, and old age, they come in this body, and the one who has the body, it just witnesses those states of the body without getting itself affected. Similarly, another body is attained, and the self is not changed. It just sees that as another state, just like childhood, youth, and old age. So knowing this, the wise men do not get deluded. So wise men know this, and therefore they do not feel deluded about it. Then Arjuna's question may be, but it's not just the death, there are other things which cause the pain and sorrow. So for that, Lord is giving a very practical advice, that the nature of the world is such that when the sense objects come in contact with the sense organs, they would produce heat and cold, pleasure and pain, pair of opposites. That's just bound to happen. I would like something, I would not like something. I would find some situation favorable, I would not find some situation favorable. And he's saying that, look, all these things, the thing is that even though they will cause the pain and pleasure and heat and cold, the thing is that they are not permanent. They come and go. So being transitory and fleeting, you should endure them. So there are, again, the two things. So this thing relates to the body, the pain and pleasure, the heat and cold. But for the Dehi, the self, there is no change. So, but since they are coming to the body and they are temporary in nature, you just endure them. Why to endure? Then he's saying that Arjuna, the wise man to whom pain and pleasure are alike, and who is not tormented by these contacts, these sense organs and sense objects, he becomes fit for immortality. That person is fit for attaining the immortality. So again, it's not that the body will become immortal, but you know the immortal self and know yourself as such, and therefore you discover your immortality. So one becomes fit for discovering one's own immortality. Then he describes in this verse again the same thing which he has earlier mentioned as the body and the one who has the body, the self. He is describing them in the form of Sat and Asat. So Asat has no real existence, no independent existence. And Sat never ever ceases to be. And those who know the truth, those who know the reality, they have seen this very clearly, these two things. So these two things are very clear, that one is Sat, which has the independent existence, and another is Asat, which has the dependent existence. It can, just like the wood and table, similarly the self and the whole world, including the body. So wood can exist without the table, but table cannot exist without the wood. A table has a dependent existence on wood, and it is nothing but wood. And that part becomes more clear, that the table is nothing but wood, that know that alone to be imperishable, which pervades the whole universe, everything. So this is related to the self, which pervades the whole thing, and no one has the power to destroy this indestructible substance. And again he comes to the same theme, that body and the self, that these bodies, they are said to be having an end. All these bodies are spoken as perishable, but the self to whom these bodies belong, that is spoken of as imperishable, eternal. So Lord has basically explained this discrimination, which so far Arjuna's main problem was that he was taking the body as the self, like most of us do, this delusion. And because of that, if anything happens to the body, it happens to the self, and the sorrow. So as a result, sorrow is there. So Lord is saying that that is not the case. These two, he clearly tells Arjuna to discriminate between these two things, and therefore there should be no cause of delusion or sorrow, and you perform your duty to fight. So with this much teaching, if one could understand, that is enough. But looking at Arjuna, probably Lord could see clearly that he did not yet understand, because he did not show any sign of that clarity, and yes, now I understand everything and I'm ready to fight. So Lord again starts explaining. Again the same theme he starts explaining in more detail. And that's what we see in 219, the verse number 219 and 220. Actually other verses just expand upon that theme. So we'll chant this verse. Ya enam vetti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanitah nayam hanti na hanyate. Once again, I'll chant the whole verse together. Ya enam vetti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanitah nayam hanti na hanyate. This verse is relatively simple from a Sanskrit grammar perspective. So yaha is a pronoun, enam is also a pronoun, vetti is a verb, Hantaram is a nominal. Yaha is a pronoun. Cha is indeclinable. Enam is pronoun. Manyate is a verb. Hatam is nominal. Ubhau is pronoun. Tau is pronoun. Na is indeclinable. Vijanita is a verb. Na is indeclinable. Ayam is pronoun. Hanti is a verb. Na is indeclinable. Hanyate is a verb. So we see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 verbs. So generally more verbs, there are smaller sentences, and many times you will find easier to understand. So first one is yaha. Yaha is one who. So you probably have seen this coming earlier. Nominative, singular, masculine. Base word is yad. So one who. Enam. This is probably coming the first time, this word here. So this is accusative, singular, masculine. And the word here, the base word here is idam. And the way why it becomes enam is, if I'll show you pronoun tables. So here you see idam, this is the stem here, idam. And it has two possibilities here in the accusative case, imam and enam. Enam comes when you are referring to something already described. So then you can use enam. So enam means something Lord is talking about which he has previously described. So we'll see what is that. So enam means this. Veti, this is a verb. So verb here is lut, present tense, third person, singular. Verb type is parasmaipadi, and root is with, to know. So since it's a present tense, third person singular, one who knows. Hantaram, it's a accusative, singular, masculine. Base word here is hantru. So this is the truch pratyaya. We have seen a few in our Sanskrit class, these kind of declensions. So you saw like karta, kartru. Kartru is the agent noun ending in rukara. It means one who does. And kartaram, as you can see, it's the accusative singular. Similarly, hantaram here. Hantaram is accusative singular. Hantru is the so one who kills. That means so one who kills. So this becomes one sentence now. Ya enam veti hantaram. One who knows this as a killer, as the agent of the action of killing. So this means what? So this is described coming from the previous verse here, that sharirina, the self, or atma, which we say, like what we refer as I. So one who knows this as the agent of action of killing. That's all sentences. So then further sentence will say what further. So this is one sentence. Yaha enam veti hantaram. One who knows this self to be the agent of killing, agent of the action. Yaha, same word here, nominative singular. Cha is indeclinable, and enam, again the same word is coming. Manyate, this is a verb form, and this is also lat lakara, present tense, third person, singular. This is atmanepadi, and this is the root is man, to consider or to think or to understand. In that sense it is used, to consider, to understand. Hatam is accusative, singular, masculine, and here the word is simply hata, like Rama, Ramam. So hata, and killed. Hata means killed, one who is killed. So this is another sentence. Yaha cha enam manyate hatam. And one who considers this self as the one who is killed. So here you can see one who is killed is the object of the action of killing. So here is the subject, hantaram is the one who is the subject of action of killing, one who does the action of killing, and hatam is one who is the object of this verb killing. So Lord is saying that one who knows this self as the doer of the action of killing, or one who understands this self as the object of the action of killing. Obhau, this is nominative, dual, masculine. Here the base word is obha, means to both. Tau, also nominative, dual, masculine, and here the base word is tad, it's a pronoun. So both of those two, basically, of those two, both of those two, or in English I think we'll most likely say both of those, but it's a dual form. Na is not. Vijanitaha, this is a verb form. So this is also present tense, third person. Here the verb will be dual because the subject is dual, obhau tau, so verb is also dual. It's a parasmaipadi, and the root here is jya. That is the root, to know. So this is another sentence. Obhau tau na vijanitaha. Both of them do not know. They do not understand they do not know correct thing. So one who considers, so we'll see the whole meaning later, but this is one sentence. Lord is saying both of them do not understand, both of them do not know. Na means not. I am. So I am is a nominal pronoun. You saw in this table, the same table, I am. Here it is now, it is the first case. We have taken the second case. It's a nominative, singular, masculine. Idam is the base word and it means this. Hanti. Hanti is a verb form. It's also present tense. Third person, singular. Parasmaipadi. And the root is han, to kill. So I am na hanti. This does not kill. This is one sentence. I am na hanti. This does not kill. And again na, not. Hanyate is verb form. So lat, third person, singular. But it's a passive form, and passive form takes atmanepadi suffixes. So it's a han is killed. So its passive changes the meaning, becomes the object of the verb. So hanyate. In our Sanskrit grammar class, we covered this particular word, hanti and hanyate. One is active, one is passive. It's a bhave prayoga here. So na hanyate, nor is it killed. So what is saying that one who considers this self to be a killer, or one who considers this self to be killed, both of them do not know, do not understand the truth, because what is the truth? This self neither kills, nayam hanti, nor is it killed. So this self, in other words, if you look at, here the killing could be taken in the context of the war, because that happens to be Arjuna's duty and he is concerned about that. But it applies to any action. So this self does not become the doer of any action, nor does it become the object of any action. So neither does it become a subject of an action, nor does it become an object of an action. So it neither kills nor is killed. So Arjuna is thinking that if I kill them, they will die and I would be the killer. I would have to go through I would have sorrow arising out of that. So Lord is basically telling that this situation arises because the distinction between self and body, that is not clear. Self is taken as the body, and therefore the property of the body is imposed upon self and the sorrow arises. But the nature of the self is such that it can neither become a subject of an action nor an object of the action. So then we go to next verse. First we'll chant this verse. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणः। न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे। Now I'll chant the whole verse together. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणः न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे। So this is again a verse where Lord further expands upon the same theme, the difference between the body and the self. So this is a indeclinable. Na jayate is a verb. Mriyate is also a verb. Va is indeclinable. Kadachit is indeclinable, and na is also indeclinable. We can even take them together. Na kadachit. Ayam, we saw this word earlier in the previous verse. Bhutva, this is indeclinable. Abhavita, this is nominal. Va, this is indeclinable. Na, this is indeclinable. Bhuyaha is also indeclinable. Ajaha is nominal. Nityaha is nominal. Shashwata is nominal. Ayam, same word is coming again. Nominal. Puranaha, nominal. Na is indeclinable. Hanyate is verb. Hanyamane is nominal. Sharire is nominal. So this verse, as you could see, this is chanted differently because this is in Trushtup meter. It is a little longer than the other verses we were chanting so far. So Gita primarily I have explained in the previous classes. It has two types of chanting meters. One is called Anushtup, where 8 syllables are there in every quartet, and this one is Trishtup, where 11 syllables are in every quartet. So if you look at the word meaning, na is not, jayate is a verb, it's a present tense, third person, singular, verb type is atmanepadi, and root here is jan. Jan means to be born. So na jayate means it is not born. That's all simple, very simple. So this is actually one sentence. Na jayate, it is not born, because verb comes here. Mriyate va kadachit. So mriyate is also a verb, very similar. Lat, third person, singular, atmanepadi, and here the root is mru, means to die. So not, it is not born, and va means or indeed it is used in both sense. Kadachit, sometime. So if you look at this sentence now here, na jayate mriyate va kadachit. So na kadachit means sometime, but when you put it with na, negative particle, it means never. Na kadachit, it becomes a strong negative, never. So it is never born, nor does it ever die. That's what it would mean. So, and again, this is referred to the self, that it is never previous, coming from the previous verse. It is never born, nor does it ever die. Na, meaning is not. I am we saw in the previous verse. We can take from there. It's a nominative singular. This bhutva, having become. It's a twa form. It's indeclinable, coming from bhu dhatu. Bhu means to be. So bhutva means having become. Bhu means to become. Bhutva means having become. Abhabita. So this is an interesting word. Abhabita is, so just like we saw, I was showing you in the nominal declension tables, kartra. So this is the agent noun, agent of the action. So it becomes karta. Similarly, the agent of bhu dhatu, bhu means to become. So one who becomes will become bhavita. So just like kartru become karta, one who does, bhu dhatu will become bhavita. And abhavita simply means one who does not become. So it's a nominative singular masculine. Base word here is abhavitru, one who does not become. It sounds kind of a strange translation in English, because in English we do not make a agent noun of this verb, but in Sanskrit it is allowed and it sounds okay. So we'll see how does the meaning come together. Va again means or indeed. Na is not. Bhuya again, these are all indeclinables, lot of indeclinables in this verse. And ajaha, so you see all these words, ajaha, nityaha, shashwataha, puranaha, they are like nominative singular, like Rama. So ajaha would be nominative singular masculine. Aja means, so ja, it's coming from the same root, ja, jayate, we saw jan, this root, one to be born. So ajaha means one who is not born, unborn. Nityaha, so it is the same nominative singular masculine. The base word here is nitya and it means eternal. Shashwataha, this is also nominative singular masculine and the base word here is sashwata. And shashwata means one who does not undergo any change. We can say changeless or unchangeable. I am, we saw this word I am here. This Puranaha, so this is also nominative singular masculine. And the base word here is Purana. So Purana has two meanings. One is ancient one, that is also Purana, and also ever new. Pura api navaha, Purana, ever new. Na is not. Hanyate. Hanyate we saw in this verse. So we can take from here. So Hanyate is not, so Hanyate is killed. Hanyate means is killed. Hanyamane sharire. These are locative singular neuter noun. So Hanyamana, this is like Rama, Rame, Hanyama, locative singular. So Hanyamana. Hanyamana, I'll tell you the meaning of Hanyamana. And Sharire. Sharire is also locative singular neuter. And the base word here is Sharira. So Hanyamana is being killed. And Sharira is the body. But both of them are in locative singular, locative case together. So in Sanskrit, this is a special construction called Sati Saptami. The way you decide the meaning by not taking them two separately, but them taking them together on account of body being killed. So that's how the meaning is derived in this particular case. That normally in Sharire means in the body, and here you are saying in being killed. But when you have this kind of seventh case together, it's called Sati Saptami, and it means on account of body being killed. That's what Hanyamane Sharire totally would mean. So this sentence is simple. If you look at just the last sentence, Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. On account of body being killed, it is not killed. So this is not killed on account. So self. So he's basically saying self is not killed. This self, which I am describing, it is not killed on account of body being killed. Then we look at this sentence here. This is an interesting sentence. Na ayam bhutva abhavita vana bhuyah. So if you look at this word here, bhutva bhavita, in some text you will find that there is a space here, like bhutva bhavita. They are two different words. So because ancient tradition was always chanting tradition, and people were writing thereafter, and even while in the ancient manuscripts you see the space part is not very clear, space between two words. Sometimes they will put the words together and it will be difficult to decipher the space between two words. So this possibility arises that this could be taken as one word, and when it is taken as one word, you can see it as abhavita, bhutva and abhavita, and the sandhi will make it bhutva abhavita, or it can be taken as two different words. So commentators have used both the approaches. They have taken as two different words as bhutva and bhavita, as well as bhutva and abhavita. So, and they have tried to figure out the same kind of meaning little differently. So here basically Lord Acharya Shankara has taken this particular case, abhavita. So this one, he is saying na ayam, not this having become, again becomes non-existence. Again does not become, like it's really difficult to say in English that way, but the translation here is it's a little bit better. It's not that having been, it ceases to exist again. So having been, and again this is abhavita, ceases to exist again. again is from here. So it's not that after having become, it will not be there afterwards. Just like for a body comes into existence at a certain point of time and then it ceases to exist. So that is not the case with the self. So in a nutshell, that's how it is. And then he tells the properties of the self. How is it described? So he's saying ajaha, and these are the 4 adjectives or 5 adjectives for the self. Ajaha, nityaha, shashwataha, purana, 4 adjectives here. So as you can see, I am is this, so talking about this self, and these are the 4 adjectives for the self. So it is unborn. The self is never born. So this idea of this body is born and at certain point it dies does not apply to the self. Eternal. So self is eternal means it is not under the effect of time. We also say it is beyond the time. So in that sense, it's eternal. Shashwataha, it is also translated many times eternal. But here it is defined more like as one who does not undergo any change whatsoever. And Purana, it is the ancient one. So there was nothing before this. So self is the ancient one. And at the same time, it is ever new. Paramahamsa Yoganandaji many times described ever new joy. So this is the ancient one and yet ever new. But it is a changeless. So just by its nature, it is like this. So here he is describing the nature of the self. And then again, he is confirming again, look, on account of body being killed, it is not killed. So this is in a nutshell, the self is never born, nor it ever dies. It's not that having been, it ceases to exist again. For it is unborn, eternal, everlasting, and ever new. Even though the body is slain, the soul is not. So this is a translation of this verse, and I'll take the questions. If you have questions, you can send them through the chat window. So there is a question here. Why is Hantaram not an object like Hatam? Hantaram, the very word meaning is the Hantara means one who kills. The word meaning of Hantara is the agent of the action. That's how the truch, that suffix, makes a verb, turns a verb into the doer of that, the agent of that action. I am is a pronoun. Yes, I am is a pronoun. That's right. That's how I have put it here. Oh, here I have put nominal. Sorry, nominal pronoun. Yes, I am is a pronoun. In the previous verse, I think I did correctly. I am previous verse I did correctly. So yes, thank you. So there is a comment here. I am is a pronoun, so that one is decided. It is a pronoun. It's the base word here is idam. I showed you the table also. These are the pronoun tables, and idam is the base word. Means this, like you point referring to something nearby. So that becomes I am in the first case singular. There is a question here, why would ajaha be nominal but bhuya be indeclinable? So here we have these two words, ajaha and bhuyaha. They look very similar in the sense of form of the verb, and they look as if both should be first case singular. But that's how the indeclinables in Sanskrit, they are defined separately. And there is a list of all the indeclinables. So sometimes indeclinable may look like as if it's a nominative singular, but if it's coming from there, then it would be an indeclinable. Ajaha does not come in that list, and it has its own meaning, which fits into the nominative singular. So there is a question here, if the self is not the agent, who performs the action? Very beautiful question. If self is not the agent, who performs the action? So Lord Krishna, of course, talks about this theme a lot in Gita in the subsequent chapters. But he basically says that actions are happening just by virtue of nature. He calls it Prakriti. So Purusha and Prakriti, that the three gunas of Prakriti, the threefold, that is responsible for all the actions. And but because of the delusion, somehow the action is imposed upon the self, and the person suffers according as per that delusion. So here it is a question here. Arjuna is a great tapasya and very knowledgeable. Lord is teaching him here the basics of Atma Jnana, the self-knowledge, as if for the first time. And that is true. Lord is teaching him here for the first time. So this knowledge was considered very sacred. And because this knowledge was considered very sacred, it was not available so openly. Like today, we do not understand that part so much because there's so much proliferation of these teachings have taken place through the internet particularly, that we think that anybody should have heard this or know this. But that's not true. People were keeping this knowledge because of its sacredness. It becomes to be given only to the one who is worthy of it. And therefore, even in Gita, if you look at it towards the end, Lord says that do not impart this knowledge to one who is not a person who is dedicated towards this knowledge or who does not really want. So there are a few things he describes there. So Arjuna understood that part. Of course, Krishna always knew that thing. And that's why Arjuna, because he was never in a state where he could surrender as a disciple, he did not ask casually that, oh, I think you know the self, you know the self, tell me what this self is. And similarly, Lord Krishna also, despite being such a close friend, does not talk casually about the self-knowledge. So this thing was not to be talked so much casually earlier. And that had its own effect in the sense that person who was really serious, Guru would really test the disciple and then only impart this knowledge. So that tradition is quite changed these days. As you know, that books are there, and with the help of internet, there are thousands and thousands of YouTube videos where you can have all the beautiful sermons on Gita, and it can help some people. But earlier the trend was different. So that's where you see this kind of thing, that he is teaching him the basics of Atma Jnana as if for first time. So with this, are there any more questions? Okay, there is a question here. How can the world become a better place if this knowledge does not become common knowledge among all men? Why would it be restricted to just a select few? It's not a question of restriction, nor does it a question of that it can become a common knowledge. It is just by the nature of this knowledge. The nature of this knowledge is such that person, even after listening it, even after hearing it, they do not understand. So your Lord himself says that in one of the later verses in 7th chapter, that out of thousands, one even desire for this knowledge, and out of those and makes an effort, and out of those thousands making an effort, maybe one person attains it. So here Arjuna, you see, he completely surrendered to the Lord, that look, I am your disciple, I surrender, and I don't think that this sorrow can go away by this kingdom or by anything. So because of that preparation which is required to have this knowledge, so even if this knowledge is just like as it is available today on YouTube, that does not mean that we have a lot of realized people, because now it is more available. So it was never a secret. It was always treated as secret because of its sacredness, not because there is some secret thing going on. It is actually extremely open because it is related to the self. But it is just that even if you dilute it, then people may get the delusion that, hey, I know all these things, I understand all these things, yet they will be subject to sorrow. And so that if one is subject to sorrow, that means this knowledge is not attained really, even if one has heard and read all the books. So with this, if there are no more questions, we close the class today. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you everyone.